Hi folks, Nathan Pierce here with Family Protection Ministries, and I'm here to talk about a few things related to family and freedom. We're going to get into a couple of issues related to the special session, the price of gas, rumblings of legislation for next year, a CDE email that went out to many of you in the last week or so, and a story from California about suing the state of California over a piece of legislation that we discussed this year, AB 1955. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Front Line with FPM, where we talk about California politics, homeschool freedom, parental rights, and the family. I'm your host, Nathan Pierce, and thanks for joining us today. Let's jump right in and see what's going on here on the Front Line. All right, so I want to first mention that we have a mailing going out in the next few days here that you will be receiving in your inbox if you are on our mailing list. If you are not on our email list, donate today to get on our snail mail email list. And every way that we get our information out, whether it's by the podcast or by the newsletter that we send out in the mail, you can be sure not to miss anything. Some articles that we send out only go in the hard copy mail, and some information goes on our website with notifications through email. And I would just appreciate your help in keeping our work going by donating. So donate today to make sure that you get our mailings. We also have included a small FPM sticker to use that is going to be in the next mailing that goes out. So you can look for that in the mail. Don't want it to be lost when you open the envelope. It is kind of small. Also, I want to just encourage you to open those when you receive them in the mail and take a look at the information inside there. And we will be posting some articles on our website in the coming weeks, but the information in the mailing is helpful to understanding kind of where we're at as an organization, and also can have some inspirational value as well. I want to discuss a little bit some things going on with the legislature very quickly. We have Capitol Day coming up in January, and usually I would say that's when the legislature is really getting back to the work that they do. Typically at the beginning of a session, which we're at the end of a session right now, a 2-year session, and we'll be starting the new session in December 5th. But they really get into introducing bills more into January, February, that time frame. And so Capitol Day will be at the end of January 29th and 30th. I would encourage you to put that on your calendar, and we'd really love to have you there. We need your help to meet the need of getting homeschool families before the California legislators and their staff. It's really impactful when we have families from all over the state of California, and not just around the Sacramento area. I know it's an investment, but maybe you can get some folks together in your area to sponsor some family to go to the state capitol for Capitol Day. We'd love to have somebody from your area, from your group. If you can't come, maybe you can help send someone else. So that's coming up at the end of January. You can learn more on our website and learn about whether it's something that you could maybe make happen for you or someone in your area. That's Capitol Day coming up January 29th and 30th. We do have, however, right now, after the legislature finished out their 2-year session at the end of August, they did start a new special session, which we're keeping an eye on right now. Special session or extra session, where they actually, after the time frame where they're normally in session constitutionally, they can call a special session, like an emergency session. And that's what's going on right now. Mostly what they're talking about is the bills that are related to fuel and the cost of gasoline, things like that. So if that's something of concern to you, you should check it out, because normally they wouldn't be doing anything legislatively right now, but they've called an extra session, and that's what they're doing. They're introducing bills, discussing bills, and voting on bills right now. The legislature is. So we're definitely keeping an eye on that to make sure there's nothing that would impact homeschooling. Certainly it's a time when things can move through the legislature very quickly because there's not much else going on. So I would encourage you to just keep your ear to the ground on that front. We certainly are trying to be aware of everything going on as much as possible. There is rumblings of introducing new legislation related to homeschooling coming up this next year. I am very concerned about it. It is something that we need to definitely be paying attention to. There is a group that is proposing new ideas and new proposals for additional, a vast, wide-sweeping regulation of homeschooling in California and across the nation. And so we are keeping an eye on that and trying to learn from the model legislation what that would mean, and to prepare for those discussions, those battles as they come. So I would appreciate your prayers for that as we evaluate those proposed sample legislation bills. Additionally, the next item I want to discuss is the CDE email that went out this week. Many of you received an email. Some of you asked questions about it from the California Department of Education relating to special education funding. And this is something that goes out every year, but it usually goes out from a county by county basis or something like that. And some counties don't send it out at all, but it's a notice letting people know that there is special education funding from the federal government that's distributed by the California Department of Education to those that qualify for it. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's why you might have gotten that email, because of filing a private school affidavit with the state of California, letting them know that you run a private school. And so they're letting you know that that those funds are available for special needs programs. I don't encourage people generally to get engaged in those programs. Frequently, those types of programs come with strings, and that's certainly a concern. I know that a number of the low-income programs that California has a list of requirements that is ever growing very quickly that do impact the ability of you to make decisions for your own children. So it's always a good idea, if at all possible, to make decisions for your own family, to make sure that you're not using government funds to run your school or your family, because the more you do, the more likely you'll be under the thumb of the government. So keep an eye out for areas that you might be involved with the government where they could have a say in what kind of things you would or would not get to make decisions on for your children. For example, many of the low-income programs, such as WIC or other programs involving food stamps and other subsidies from the government for low-income families, have a new set of requirements related to medical decisions for children, including visiting doctors or vaccine requirements special just for those people. So I would take a look at that. If you're involved in one of those programs, make sure that you're not getting more entangled than you want to be with the government. And finally, I just want to encourage you, knowing that this is, we've been kind of delving into the beginning of the school year. Things can be busy. They certainly are for my family. We've had a number of just sort of realizations of all the things going on that we're trying to juggle schedules. So it can be wearying at times, but God has continued to be faithful, and He always will be, as He has promised, never to leave us or forsake us. And we know that He will help us. So number one, make sure that you continue on with leading your family and what is most important. As Paul says, that the gospel is the most important thing, and so we need to keep that front and center in our raising of our children, and make sure that other things don't sort of drag you down and keep you from doing that most important thing. And then finally, the time of year that we're in, it can be really busy, and we can forget sometimes to file our affidavit. So if you are one of the families that files your own affidavit and you create your own private school, and you file your documentation with the state of California letting them know that you have a school, it's almost time to do that. That comes up just next month. So it's October 1st to 15th. So be aware of that timing and make sure that you don't forget to file. And if you are part of an umbrella school or a private school satellite program where somebody else files that, you don't need to do it. So you don't need to do double duty there. Just make sure that you know which option you're using and do the appropriate filing. And there's some information in our latest mailing that can walk you through that if you have questions. And as always, we're here and available to follow up with legislative questions. If you hear any particular rumblings of legislation This is the kind of time of year typically where sometimes you hear discussions from legislators on what they plan to do. And it sometimes can be the first we hear of something. If you hear of legislation being proposed or being thought up, then let us know, because it might be that we haven't heard of it yet. All right, I wanted to let you know, too, a little update on something that I reported on earlier this year, and this relates to AB 1955, which was that bill that has to do with gender transitions in schools. There's a headline from California Globe. The headline reads, "Huntington Beach sues state over new law requiring schools to hide a child's gender transition from parents." So as you know, we've talked about this bill a lot. There's more information on our website at fpmca.org/bill tracker, and you can click on AB 1955 for more information about why we opposed this bill. But the new law that was signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom in July, this is a quote from the article, the law prohibits schools from notifying parents of their child if their child is gender confused or transitioning to the opposite sex, was legally challenged with the lawsuit by the city of Huntington Beach on Wednesday. America First Legal filed the lawsuit on behalf of a group of California parents and the city of Huntington Beach, California, against California Governor Gavin Newsom, Attorney General Robert Bonta, and the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurmond. Assembly Bill 1955 by Assemblyman Chris Ward from San Diego, labeled the Support Academic Futures and Educators for Today's Youth Act, also prohibits employees or contractors of schools from being required to make such a disclosure unless otherwise required by law. Now, one more thing that I wanted to read to you from this article. It was unconstitutional in the first place, said City Attorney Michael Gates on Monday. It sends a signal to our community in Huntington Beach of 200,000 residents that we are a parents' right to know city. This is their statement about why they're suing the state of California. Educators, he says, should not interfere in the parent-child relationship. So way to go, Huntington Beach. That's excellent that you're suing, and we can all be praying that something like this actually gets traction and has a right decision. So this is encouraging news. It is good to be calling into question bad pieces of legislation that get passed in our legislature. So this is a lawsuit that is suing the state of California over AB 1955 passing, and we can be really grateful that they are taking the lead on this. America First Legal. According to American First Legal, the law does not set an age limit. Schools cannot notify parents, even if preschoolers are being socially transitioned. It also prevents schools from disciplining employees who are initiating or facilitating social transitioning, which courts have recognized is a type of medical intervention or treatment that medical professionals have recognized can inflict serious short-term and long-term harm. So, check out the link for this California Globe story to read the whole thing and be praying for this lawsuit and others that are being run by folks that are standing up for parents' rights. And this is a good direction. It's important to be aware of these things so you can stay up with who to pray for, because we need to be praying for our leaders, including and especially those who are standing up for the truth. That's it for today. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon. See you next time. Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Front Line with FPM. For more information about the topics we discuss here, check out Family Protection Ministries at fpmca.org and subscribe to our channel.